Episode of Trending Topics with BB. I'm happy to present Disco Pretty. Welcome to my podcast.
Hey,
For
Thank you
those
for
that
having us.
have not checked out the previous episodes and other Groove Cruise related episodes, feel free to. I'll post those later. If you haven't, there's a lot, including Jason, the founder. He's been on the podcast. But it's all about Disco Pretty. So welcome, Jenny. Welcome, Keith, to the podcast.
Hi.
So I guess the let's just talk about the Groove Cruise, okay? Because your stage in the casino was insane. Um, so I just want to kind of relive the Groove Cruise because with everything going on in the world right now, it's like let's just relive the good times from
It definitely
last
feels like the
year.
longest we've hung on to a groove cruise after. I guess
Yeah,
after the long break, you just want to hold on to it that much longer.
yeah, we're still
yeah.
vibing off of it. There's a lot. Very
Well, I
cool.
guess what we could start with before we get into the Groove Cruise, let's start in with I know you guys spoke to Nani Natalia on Mastermind of a DJ podcast, which is a great episode.
Yes.
And she kind of went through the history of like you guys finding each other and what your backgrounds were. So for my listeners, let's kind of do like a Cliff Notes version because they can head over to that episode and listen to that in full. But kind of let's talk about your guys' love of dance music and what brought you two together, and obviously the Groove Cruise. I know the story, but for the
Mhm.
listeners out there that may or may not know the story, let's just talk about you guys and how dance music has influenced you and where you started.
Sure. So I've been on Groove Cruise. My first year was 2009, and I've been on the boat and playing every year back in the day when it was just, a group of 150 people and it was just us. Now to see how big it's grown and how much it's got to this like giant beautiful boat and everyone there is vibing with each other, it's amazing. It's done a lot of growth. So like I have always been a supporter of Groove Cruise because of how magical it is. And unless you've been on it, you don't know how magical it really is. And to go from the beginning of it and then in the middle kind of meeting him and getting to do this epic back-to-back set, our first time ever meeting, and then we started seeing each other on the off season, on the off Groove Cruise time, and it just kind of like has evolved with us in that sense with as the boat has gone and gotten bigger, so is us. A lot of it has to do with Groove Cruise and like the way that we influence each other and the way that Groove Cruise has influenced us and our sound and our energy that we bring to it. And obviously you see it like how epic the casino was this year. It's our first year that we got to host our own stage, so like we're so much love for Groove Cruise and the things that they've given us, for sure, everything. So we love it. It's awesome. And you were at the casino, man.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
basically, you're looking at years of work, I guess, if you think about it. We met. It was 2015 when we met. I had been on two groove cruises at that point, and then I won the DJ contest that year. And then we met. I met her like 2 days into the cruise, and then we did that whole back-to-back thing. And then, like she said, fast forward to the like we skipped the meaty parts, but fast forward to the engagement 4 years later. And then now after the 2 year, we did one cruise in 2020 after the engagement, and then we had the break, and then this past cruise where we had the stage, which just was kind of
Epic.
exceeded expectations for sure,
So epic.
for sure.
I think what got me is when I walked into the casino. Well, one of the nights, and then I think the night you guys had your stage, just Claude Von Stroke just sitting there having the best time, and everybody just chilling. And then I think word got out because obviously there was other sets going on the ship, and
Yeah.
just the casino just started filling up with.
So what had happened with that was I played with Tiso for the No Boys in the Booth stage the night before in the casino. And he and his Claude Von Stroke and his crew had somehow made their way down in there and stayed and just loved the vibe. They stayed through my set, loved my vibe, stayed for the girls' sets and just loved it. He loved it. He loved it so much that he rescheduled his hip hop set for the next day and had sent his sent his agent down to find us the next day and was like, Claude really loved you guys. He loved the casino. Can he hop on with you guys tonight? And both were like, how do you say no to Claude Von Stroke? Like, of course, come play with us, please. So that vibe and that energy in the casino for Tiso's party and then for ours back-to-back nights, we ate that Groove Cruise alive between the
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and with everything going on, obviously on the Groove Cruise, it's like the fact that like word gets out on the ship real quick and everybody like flips their plans and like
It was insane. People started once the sound got out or whatever, it started filtering in from everywhere. Like parts of the casino that I didn't even know you could come from and in and out of that people were coming in and just standing wherever they could, which was awesome. That's like part of the charm of the casino is that you have the opportunity to stand right behind the DJ booth if you can make your way up there or right in front of it. So you get to really see like an intimate set from some of these DJs. And I know for me personally, I feed off the crowd a lot. So if everyone's right there bouncing and jumping and like having a great time, I'm having more fun and it sounds more through my music. The stage, we love having like the big stage and the big lights, but that casino is such a vibe and that was so much fun.
And it was like Groove Cruise magic. Like some of it just kind of we had the special guests. Originally, it was supposed to be Scooter was going to play an extended like special underground house set, which was going to be enough for Groove Cruisers to kind of be like, what is happening here? And so when the schedule ended up coming out, it was on the same night as a hip hop party, coincidentally, where Clayton, what is it? Barkley Crenshaw is his real name. I forget. He was under his alias.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's weird. His real name is like his alias.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to play the hip hop party, and that just he changed his mind after kind of touring the boat. Like Jenny said, he kind of looked at the boat every day, and then they asked him where he wanted to go, and then so since the Scooter thing fell out, we had a special guest spot that we were working on behind the scenes, trying to see who was going to be available, and it's behind the scenes festival stuff, just scheduling conflicts, who can do what, who can't do what, who's too drunk, who's not drunk, all that kind of stuff. And so whatever, so it just kind of luck of the draw ended up being that he wanted to make a shift and we had the space to kind of make it happen. And he took over the decks from Deepfake, who were kind of the other darlings of the cruise or whatever.
We love them so much. They're so amazing.
And so it just all kind of just came together. And then the other thing was, as all that was happening, I was running around the cruise because I knew it was happening. So I started spreading word, just literally anything that was in like within a football field of the casino. I was running out and going Claude at one, Claude at one, Claude at one in the casino. And then I also had Dave Adamek from Team Jetpack. Thank you guys. I had them run to the room and pull back 3 speaker boxes for the casino. So what they didn't know was the casino actually had extra sound for Claude's set. And that's why there were so many people spread out. Also, because we had,
and it sounded so
I had
good.
3.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, I had 3 speakers with Dave positioned throughout the casino strategically, so that I knew it was going to flood in. So I knew that once the casino was flooded, I didn't want people in the back to be like, oh, like they can't see or they can't hear, and then
everybody was.
Then they leave, So basically, what I did was I pretty much circled the entire casino with sound. Like I don't even think Groove Cruise knew I did that. It just all came together. It came together, and then by the time Claude kept playing, he was supposed to play for 90 minutes, and then Yokai was going to come on after. He ended up playing on their set, which even his agent was like, "There's nothing I can do, man." He's like, he's either going to play for 10 minutes or play for an hour or 2. So he ended up playing an hour, and then we had the luck of just taking all that energy and hopping on the decks after. I think it was 3:30 in the morning when we got on from him, and we took it till 6. And that was the other thing. All that was going on, it was raining outside, and that also kind of helped people like flood to the casino because they wanted to be inside. So it was like all that kind of just like everything just kind of happened all at once within a couple hours, and that was the result.
Which is amazing because I feel
Disco Pretty and Friends.
Keith and I have like caught lightning in a bottle several times on Groove Cruise, and I don't know how we keep getting all this magical perfectness, but it's always epic, and it's our vibes make me happy to do that kind of stuff. So it's good.
Yeah, well, that's the magic of Groove Cruise because I've been telling people since the minute I get off the ship, the people that didn't come, like they have to come soon, like next year or whatever, because like they're talking about all the festivals coming back, and I'm like, but the thing about Groove Cruise is that it gets rid of all this bad stuff from festivals, and it's like the intimates, like, and the best thing too is the fact that it's not just about the headliners on the Groove Cruise. Like if you go to EDC or Ultra or any of the other ones, it's like all about the headliners, but it's not like who
Yeah,
cares?
this is like part of the
Nobody's
puzzle.
really like a headliner on the groove cruise. I mean, it brings people, but it's people realize as they're wandering around the ship that, oh, there's more than just the few people I know, or
Well, you figure too, like it's so like the headliners they're like a part of the equation, like a piece of the puzzle. And yeah, you're right, because what ends up happening is if you think about it, like the so-called GC fam DJs or like the affiliate DJs, they're the ones that really pack the boat because they're the ones that are out there going like, hey, use my code. Hey, come to the local shows, come, you got a friend. They're the ones that are really with the boots on the ground, spreading the word and filling up those cabins. And you figure each one of those DJs can be responsible for anywhere between, a minimum of like 20 people up to like hundreds per
yeah,
DJ. So I mean, you put that in a list of DJs where you've got like Scotty Boy and like us and Lavelle
Lizzie
Dupree,
Curious. Yeah,
Brown, and all these guys. You go down the list, Lizzie Curious, and those are really the people that are coming on the boat, and they're bringing like 50, 100 people with them. Lubliner with the Never Going Home, and he's got the party going into different cities and around the country. All that stuff adds to like the word of mouth, sort of like the people, like how people find out about Groove Cruise, like, and the real people that you want to find out. The people that you want to be on the boat and have those vibes with, that have all those things in common. And so with the affiliate DJs, a lot of us have those things in common already. And so by extension, so do the people that we hang out with and that we end up bringing on the boat. So it's like, I mean, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I mean, it's a good portion of the boat that the GC
yeah,
fans are responsible for bringing the fam and the captains on for sure.
yeah, and the word of mouth and everybody coming back and talking endlessly about it, and then everybody's like, "Well, I guess I gotta go."
Yeah,
Because
and
I
like us
feel like
talking
this
about it,
year,
like, 2 years later.
maybe you guys can confirm because this seemed like because I went 2 years ago. There seemed like to be a lot of virgins this year, more than normal, which
Yeah,
isn't I'm not against, but it's just it seemed like there was a lot of virgins. I know with COVID and everything, it
yeah.
Well,
changed.
you had the
I also think that because we had a bigger boat, we had
yeah.
maybe some more space because every year Blind Faith Mafia kind of takes up a good portion of it with their bookings. And those are people that have been in the previous years. And there's not a lot of opportunity for that many virgins to be on the boat unless the boat is bigger. And this year we had a bigger boat. And then with COVID, a lot of, some of the older people that have been on a lot of times, they were like, I might wait until COVID's a little less stressful to go. So there were some people that had been booked and opted out. And there was just, I think there was more room for some virgins to get on that wouldn't normally have that opportunity to be there.
Yeah, it was definitely a combination for sure. It was
Yeah.
this
Plus the word
definitely
of
it's the
mouth.
biggest boat we've ever had.
Yeah.
That
Plus the
was
word of
just
mouth getting out. Like there's a lot of people I've heard that have been like, oh man, I want to go on that so bad, but I know it sells out really fast or whatever. So I think it was kind of cool. We got a little opportunity to have some new kids come on the boat this year, and they were well behaved for the most part of it.
Yeah. Well, I think they also learn quickly that they can't they have to match the vibes because people
Yeah,
will call
it's
them on.
definitely not like like a camping or something like that. It's a
Yeah.
completely separate thing that you have to be able to be on a vibe with because kind of like not for nothing, but a lot of our groove cruisers are people that have been on multiple times and they're gonna say something, hey, don't blow your whistle or don't do that or can't stand behind the booth there or whatever. Like we kind of take care of each other, the older kids.
and I mean it even sets the tone like in the attendees group before the cruise. Everybody's already kind of like planting those seeds and letting them know, hey, we all watch out for each other, et cetera, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
yeah, yeah. I've walked several people back to their room many,
And
many years in a row.
and
To
security.
make
I mean,
sure that
everybody on the boat
security's
knows each
amazing.
other.
Yeah, our security guards are amazing on that crew.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to many of the security guards and they were like, they want to be on the ship, but not working next time.
Yeah.
A lot of them say that.
Yeah. Um,
And the care
so
team. I loved that new kind of that we had the little paramedics running around and everything,
yeah.
all the parties. I loved that. I thought that was amazing. So that was definitely a cool addition to have. And they were all having a great time and dancing. And they're like, if you dance too hard, just sit down and breathe a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what was cool about it. It's just everybody once you were on the ship, the vibes were and I also think it's because it's been 2 years. So there was just a lot and a lot of the stress leading up to it and everything.
A lot of pent up
Everybody
energy for sure.
Yeah, everybody left a lot of things at the port when they walked on that boat this year, I think.
yeah, which was what we all needed.
I
Um,
believe.
so what I wanted to get into before we talk about what's coming up in March which is tomorrow. But I want to talk about, kind of go back to how you guys fell in love with dance music, each and then together, because we all have our origin stories of how we grew up, how we found that one record, and how it's led to where we are now in the Groove Cruise. So, can you guys kind of go back to like, I know there's a story on Mastermind, but let's just talk about like the origins of falling in love with dance music, because I keep explaining it to family members and they just don't get it. So it's one of those things where that's a big thing of this podcast, is to kind of let people know that it's more than just the stereotypes that you might see.
Yeah. You want to take it? You go first.
Well, I mean, for me, my family, it was mixed because the people that were influenced by her, I had 3 uncles that were DJs when I was growing up. So those guys were DJs in New York already when I was very young, like 7, 8 years old, and then coming into my teens. So they were always playing records, and my grandfather had a basement in the big house in Queens, and they had a DJ booth, and they had the speakers set up. So they were always testing records and stuff like that. So it started pretty young for me. But I think, yeah, I think there's like moments too, I think, that stick out, I think, where I think is what more you're like alluding to. And like, I think the biggest one for me in terms of like what put me on the path that I'm like on like literally now would be like the first time I went to space after hours. I was already DJing for a long time at that point, doing hip hop and whatever else, and doing dance music, but I wasn't like full into it like I am now. And somebody was trying to get me to go, and it was like, "Oh, I go," and he's like, "I go at like 6 in the morning, and we stay until the afternoon." And I'm like, "That's crazy!" Like I'm getting home at that point, I'm hungover, or starting my hangover at that point, as it were. And so one day I was DJing a wedding, and he got me, and he was like, I finished early, and he was like, "All right." He's like, "I'm going tomorrow, let you know." I'm like, "All right, you got me this time. I'm gonna go." So whatever. Long story short, I go to space at 7 in the morning and just walk into this thing with the sun is already up, and I pull back the curtain, and there's the dance floor is packed, and it was just like, holy shit. Like they were just like, didn't know that something like that existed. That people partied like that in the morning. And like, I remember like having a drink at like 8 in the morning going like, wow, this is like, I couldn't believe it. By 9 o'clock, I was drunk, and I was like, first time I think I'd ever really been like day drunk like that, I guess. Or it was just the whole thing, the whole like being out there with the sun up and everybody dancing and having a good time. And then the music was different back then on the at space, and it was the vibe was just different back then. The dancing and people more, it was more about like having a good time. I think back then, where more I feel like it's kind of to be seen sometimes. And I don't know. So it's just a memory like that stuck out. And that's when at that point I started promoting there so I could network, and I started making mixed CDs and handing them out to the people that got tickets to the parties and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it started. And it just went from there. It went from just kind of promoting at like the biggest club. If there was a place to learn, it was definitely there for sure. Because some of the stuff I learned there, I still use today, like marketing and things like that.
I grew up in like a little farm town. I kind of like touch a little bit on that with the other podcasts, but I didn't have a lot of opportunity growing up to do like club stuff because there just wasn't a club in my little farm town. So we would venture, and I was like probably 14, I think, the first time I went to like a rave. And I went with a group of friends. We went to Detroit. I had a blast the whole time. And I can literally tell you, like, to this day, the song that I heard was Rapture on the dance floor. And that thing hit me. I was having so much fun with my friends. It was just like this beautiful free energy place to come and dance and not have to worry about anything. And I cried. I literally stood on the dance floor crying. And I'm watching the DJ, and I just thought this was so amazing that the music didn't stop. There weren't breaks in between like on the radio. It just kept going. And we're all dancing, had a great time. And I remember thinking, like, on the way back, I was like, I want to be involved in this, however it is that I can be involved in this. And I started going to more parties and meeting more people. And that eventually led into meeting some DJs. And I had started dating a guy that was a DJ, and I learned a lot from him, being that he said, well, you can't DJ because you're a girl. And I was like, oh, well, why not? And at that point, there weren't a lot of girl DJs. There were barely any female DJs that I had known about. So I was like, well, I want to do that. So I taught myself how to play. And I've loved it literally deep in my soul for 20 years. And that's something, it's an experience that unless you take someone to a party and you put them in the middle of the dance floor and you say, don't you feel it? Can you feel that? Like some people just don't get it. You have to literally take them and say, please come with me and let me show you this amazing thing. And then those are the people that are like, I love this. I'm hooked. Where can I get it next? And like even my mom and dad listen to my house music sets. They love when I do like the chill vibey stuff. My dad is really into music. My mom is really into music when I was growing up. So they listen to my mixes, and my dad will be like, oh, I like this one. It's got a little disco to it. So
First time I met her dad was at a show.
yeah.
First
First
time I went and visited. First time I went to visit when she was in Michigan.
I was very
and it was her birthday, and we set up a show for her birthday, and they came out.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're the first people on the dance floor, and let me tell you, a lot of times they're the last people on the dance floor too. So I am very fortunate to have grown up around music as Keith did with his uncles, and have someone kind of cradle me into it and be like, "This is meant for you." And it's literally been the highlight of my life is music. And
yeah, I've been around music.
So it's amazing.
I want to touch on something because I like to, with all the other people I've had on the pod, you mentioned something that's still kind of a sore in our scene is the fact that, there's still, I mean, you've been DJing for 20 years, you just mentioned, but there's now this push for female and women DJs. Not that there hasn't been, but I mean, we're seeing with LB Chiobi and her Femme House Fridays, and we're seeing in her tour, and just like the representation that was on the Groove Cruise with Lizzie Curious and Tiso and you and like a bunch of others. And
I
love
Kel doing that setup for having that No Boys in the Booth stage. Like that was so amazing to have the girls kill it. Everyone killed it. Everybody's set was amazing on that.
Yeah. So I love that we're on this path, but how I know it hasn't been easy to get here. So can you talk about like your will to never give up in the scene that's like,
oh yeah, I mean my first opportunity to be a DJ, the guy that I was seeing, he was like, well, you can't because you're a girl. And that just has always blown my mind. And I don't know, honestly, it's probably put a little personality trait into me now that I don't give up on things because I'm a woman. Like, why can't I do that? Why can't I drive a race car? Why can't I go golfing and be better than you? Like, I don't understand how that stigma has been in place for so long. So the best thing that I can do is to just be the best version of what I do that I possibly can. And a lot of times, unfortunately, some people get left in the dust about it and they're like, oh, she's actually good. I'm like, well, why? Because I'm a girl? This doesn't make any sense. It's completely blows my mind. Even now, it still blows my mind. So yes, I have to work twice as hard. I always have had to work twice as hard. I feel like a lot of times when I first started DJing, my name was Jenny Disco. And a lot of times they'd be like, well, we don't want to book her because we don't want some like novelty girl DJ that's just going to come and train wreck every set and just look pretty. We don't want that. So I started dropping the first part of my name off. So it's just Disco or J Disco if you see my logo. And I started actually getting booked more back in the day because I wasn't a girl in some people's minds. So I would show up with my records or whatever, and they'd be like, well, where's your boyfriend? I'll be like, no, you booked me. I'm Jenny Disco. I'm Jay Disco. So I had to kind of like fly under the radar at first. And now that it's been more acceptable, there's a lot more other female DJs that are just killing it in the production scene, in the promotional scene, in, doing podcasts and things like this. This is amazing. That it's kind of been more accepted. And the more that we can accept it, the more we can push in and just be like, yes, here we are. So I will always support another female DJ. Every time I see a girl on the lineup, I always give her a good shout out. Like, yes, there's another girl in the lineup. This is amazing. Because a lot of times it's just me and then, 15 boys on the lineup. And I have to come and I have to bring it twice as hard because of that fact that they're like, oh, well, she's great. She looked great. Well, how did I sound though? So it's been a long battle for sure. Better now than it ever has been, but it's been a battle.
And for you, Keith, I mean, when you guys did the first back-to-back that was magical that brought you guys together, and you being around the scene, what was your thoughts of like, the struggle that Jenny's had and others have had in the scene? Because that's it's about the music, as we just talked, and the vibes. Why are we continuing with these stigmas in 2022?
Well, actually, he shared his set with me because I wasn't technically supposed to play up in the Haven Suite. It was just friends of mine that were like, we have a bunch of DJs throwing down to go get your stuff. Like, we're going to play. So I was just kind of sitting there hanging out. And he was like, well, what kind of music do you play? And we touched on a couple artists, and he goes, well, that's what I play. And I was like, oh, sweet. And he's like, well, do you want to play with me? And I was like, really?
Which I never do.
A guy DJ asking me if I want to share his set time on Groove Cruise. It was mind blowing and just a very gentleman act in the first place. And that kind of opened the door for us to do that together for sure. Like, he's helped me a lot with my career and learning my voice and feeling like I can say, no, I prefer you to send me here, or I need you to book me that way, or I need to be billed that way. Cause a lot of times I wouldn't say any of that. Now he takes care of all of that for me and helps me find my voice to get what I'm worth out of it. So sharing your set time with me. Aw.
But yeah, and I never do that. That just is another one of those things that just kind of happened on Groove
Well,
Cruise.
I mean, back-to-backs can be
I don't like them.
magical
I don't
or not. But I think we're learning that, you know, when back-to-backs pop up, especially on the Groove Cruise, it's the vibes can't be beat. I mean,
yeah,
it
awesome.
still has to be right though. Like
It's
I don't just
that sound and this sound blended.
I don't like to just play with anybody. And like we've had before Jenny, I only had one other partner, DJ partner that I ever played with. And actually he'll be on that party that we're doing in March coming up here in Fort Lauderdale. And it was never, I build sets, and it's just something that I work on. So it took me a while to kind of learn. I mean, now it's more of a popular thing now. So I'm more apt to do it. But even still, like I've only done it with like a handful of people that I really like play well with, because I want it to go well. I don't want to just get behind the decks just to get behind the decks. Like,
no, but we have a lot of fun together playing, which it also has a lot to do with it. If you're on a back-to-back with a DJ, like on a lineup that you don't really know or vibe with, it's not going to sound the same. Like when we play with our Twitch show and our Twitch channel, we have so much fun, and it's like 10 hours that we're playing back to back with each other. And our first back to back was 8 hours. And it's hard to even just do 1 hour sometimes with a DJ, let alone be able to do 8 hours and then a continuous show every week and keep it fresh and keep it fun. So we have a good.
It's like we were in Mexico last year, and we did 3 decks, 3 hours back to back with us two and Lavelle.
That was a lot of fun.
Wow.
And it was literally just it was just decked, no talking, and it was the best night of the event.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. But it was like we were all playing a lot of like our favorite newer music too. So we'd like put it on and look at each other and be like, what do you think of that one?
Like one of the better sets that we've probably ever had.
We had a lot of fun with that.
And just whatever. I mean, Lavelle's obviously a very talented artist, but we have a great relationship with him. So it's one of those things where it was easy to just get behind the decks and play with him. Whereas like that stuff doesn't really just happen as organically as people like to think. I think we're like, it's just my 2 favorite DJs are just going to get behind the decks. It's going to be magic. Like, probably not most of the time. Like, I mean, like ask Anthony Atala how many people like he'll go back to back with. Like, it's got to be very special for him to go back to back, because he's so particular about details and all the things that he puts together. And so like I'm kind of like of that same mold, right? Like
the sound has got to be right. The lighting's got to
everything's got to be right. And then it's like, to me, the music is the easy part. So it's like once you get up there, but it's like if you have everything in place, like we knew when we played with Lavelle, like it was gonna go well because we knew that. And so like it's rare to have that kind of like chemistry behind the decks with another artist, because it's not as easy. I don't think it's as easy as it is, or as people make it out to be, or people like to think it is, I guess.
Right. I mean, well, I like to ask this question to people because like there's still this continuing debate about the art of DJing. And like, you know, there's these people that write articles or clickbait articles on the internet that talk about like DJs don't have any skill. And I'm like, have you been around a DJ? Like, there's more to it than just turning the knobs. You got to know your shit.
That think that we just push play like on a CD player in your car. And those are the kind of people, like I was saying earlier, that I invite to come to those parties and watch and see what I do. Like, because you're right. A lot of people are like, don't you just push play? Like, yeah, kind of. But there's a lot more to it. And once they see the mixing board and how intricate it really is, like people change their mind really quickly, but they have to go and watch you do it or try it themselves. That's always a good time too when people come up and touch the buttons.
For me, the biggest thing for me is just what makes a DJ to me is being able to read the room and understand the room, even if they're programming in advance. You know, it's also because you have that ability. Like in Groove Cruise, if I know I'm playing a certain set at a certain time or a certain stage, like I'm going to approach that set one way than I would versus another set. So it's like even in advance, it's because I know the crowd, I know the vibe, I know the time. So like all those things come into play. But then once you get into that room, anything can happen. And so you might go in with a plan, but you got to be able to work on the fly and be able to change and adjust. And to me, that's where like the art of DJing, I don't think it's lost, but it's definitely been diminished over the years just because the technology and everything is just so accessible now. You know, it's cheap. Anybody can just anybody can learn. Literally anybody can learn. I mean, that's why you see there's a lot of like watered down, DJs where it's just because anybody can just go buy a laptop and grab the tracks, get the music's accessible now. I mean, it's practically free just about everywhere with few exceptions. And so that part of it is easy. So everybody thinks they can just grab the equipment and get their favorite songs and mash them together or whatever. And it doesn't really work that way.
You can buy the same set of paints and canvas and put 5 artists in a room and none of them are going to paint the same.
Right. And that's the beauty of it too, though. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
We can do something with the music that we do with it, and it's not going to never be the same as anyone else.
Like a stupid example, that would be like sometimes, like, DJs lose their USB sticks or leave them laying around. And like it happened on Groove Cruise with I think it was like Ferry Corsten. Somebody big lost a flash drive and it had like all this like unreleased music on it that like no names not even on it yet. And so like I can kind of understand if you lose a flash drive and you freak out like that because you have all this like art that hasn't been shared yet. But like for like our DJ sets and stuff, like my music, like if I lose my flash drive, like it's just music. Like that's like, to me, it's like somebody finding like a puzzle in a box that's not put together. You know what I mean? Like anybody can grab my flash drive with 100 gigs of music on it, but it's like, what are you going to do with it? And so like, I'm going to do something with it that Jenny's not going to do and vice versa. And that person might be able to do something with it. But at the end of the day, it's that ability to kind of just like it's just the way you see things. And I think that's what DJs have, their own unique way of seeing things when it comes to like a set or a room or Groove Cruise. I mean, like even look on Groove Cruise, there's 70 DJs and all these stages and all this schedule and everything. So that's a lot of different interpretations on how to do something in 4 days, if you think about it.
Especially when it's, people are playing either multiple sets or pop-up sets.
Right.
That's the thing. The beauty of Groove Cruise is like, even so, you might hear some of the same tracks, but no set is the same.
It's
I mean,
presentation. It's presentation. It's timing. It's an it just depends. It's a lot of things, especially on Groove Cruise. It's a lot of things, and like you have to be aware of them. And I think that's why too, like the GC Fam DJs are so popular because like we know what you guys like and we know what you guys don't like, and so it's a lot easier to fit into the crowd and feel into that when, like, I already know what you guys' reaction is going to be when I drop a certain song at a certain time in a certain room. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little bit easier in that sense, but that takes years of also too of being on the boat. Like there's 25 Groove Cruises between the two of us, I think it is. So it's a combination of a lot of things that make it interesting and fun and like always challenging,
And I think that's the beauty too, is as you see like with the Vixens party this year or the hip hop sets, like you saw that, despite we're there for dance music, there was also, other types of music mixed in. Like at the Vixens party, it was like an 80s sing-along for like an hour.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like we all are just love music because of, it's not just about the dance music. It's about the fact that we love music and then it developed to what we love today. And I think that's what I want to get across to people. It's like, even if you're not uneducated about dance music, you might know more than you think you do. You just didn't know what you were listening to. Like
Right.
Also with the DJs too, because then you go, like you said, some of the DJs, like the Groove Cruise Fam DJs usually have multiple sets programmed throughout the boat. And so you have an opportunity as a DJ. You have an opportunity to go. All right, well, I'm not just gonna play 4 tech house sets, whatever. Like no,
Yeah.
like a vibe in the casino. We had a vibe at the Vixen stage, and then we had a vibe. What was the other? We played something else. And so like each set was like uniquely different to that room and that environment at that time.
Yeah.
And like so like and that's an opportunity for the DJs to show off and go, hey, I'm not just like this one trick pony that only plays like this one way. Or so it's kind of funny like that because Groove Cruise, like the fans want to hear their DJs do this one thing. But then like if the DJ does something different, you get like this mixed bag. Because like some people are like, oh, I didn't know he could do that. And then there's just the other people like, oh, but I just want to hear him play that song that he always plays. Like, so you have like this from the crowd perspective, there's this like, there's all these different expectations too, even on just one DJ or one act in a room, And so for the Groove Cruise DJs, it's fun. Like between the three of us, and I say three because it's Jenny and Keith and then Disco Pretty. Between the three of us, we had something like 8 or 9 different sets on the boat. Because Jenny had her 2 or 3, and I had my 2 or 3, and then Disco Pretty had their 2 or 3.
I played the pre-party.
And then Jenny did the brunch, which was separate from the boat altogether.
So that was a whole like champagne.
So
sunshine
she had to do a whole piece of work for that. So I mean, there was a lot of work. I mean, I spent weeks up to the cruise, up until 3, 4 in the morning every night, programming music and
It's a lot.
trying to work with the crews and trying to get our schedules as far ahead of time as we could to be like, hey, I want to play a certain way for Vixens. Like, what time is that stage going to be at? Where's it going to be at? Because like if it's inside or outside, I'm playing differently, So it's like all these different things that I think people don't really think about when they just see a DJ, or they just go, oh, you're just a DJ and like you're getting paid all this money to like you get to play for like an hour, and it's like, man, like those 9 hours of program that we had on Groove Cruise was probably like 100 hours of like work or whatever.
Yeah.
Just sitting and programming and downloading music and throwing tracks away and all that.
On top of costumes, because we all know how much fun costumes are on Groove Cruises.
And like bringing our props, like we brought our props for the stage on, we wanted to have like all the stupid things that you guys recognize from Twitch.
The dinosaur made the after movie, but we did not.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like, I mean, this is the thing, we try to keep all that fun for people on the cruise because there's like, the Twitch thing was a great way to connect with everybody while we were gone. And we were
so
like,
much fun during Twitch.
We got to be in you guys' living room every week for like almost a year, which we never had that opportunity before.
It's awesome. We got a lot of new people follow lovers from us.
And we wanted to bring that vibe on the boat too, and have our stage kind of feel that kind of, even though the casino was like all lit up, usually like, we have the clocks all lit up and everything is always like a vibe.
It was a house party.
But it was a house party, yeah, and people all around us, and it was like the opposite of Twitch, but in a good way.
Well, that was the thing is like I've spent a lot of time on Twitch and your channel and Doc Brown's channel and Lizzie Curious's channel, and finally seeing you guys live after 2 years of what we've been doing.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother thing because I've spent too much time on Twitch the last few years.
And also like having you guys right in front of us, you know what I mean? Like
it was like what Twitch.
She didn't really like Twitch. It took her a while to settle in with the whole like.
Yeah, I like people in front of me when I play. It's really hard for me to vibe when it's on the computer and I got to turn and chat and talk and then mix and then turn and chat and talk. But once I got a hold of it, then we had a great time. But it's a lot.
Well, speaking of that, before we get into what's coming up this coming month, do you guys think you're going to continue with Twitch? I know you have new gigs coming up, but do you think like it's changed because Lizzie Curious is blowing up on Twitch? Doc's the amount of hours that Doc's done on. I mean, he used to do 12-hour sets on Sundays. I mean,
it's basically yeah. So we want to bring it back and integrate it, but our schedule's been so erratic. And like the big one of the biggest keys on Twitch, and I'm sure you know this, building your channel, is like consistency is key on Twitch.
Yeah, we also
like, you gotta be there. You got to be there every time. If you say like, so like what started out during the pandemic, like we basically like we kind of like owned Saturday nights for like a year because it was like there was nowhere for people to go. We didn't have to worry about, we got to do a gig, or we got to go somewhere, we got to be at somebody's house. Like there was none of that. So it was easy for us to just log in on Saturday nights and just play every night. But then when the real world kicked in, we went kind of right back to gigging. It was quick because we were in Florida, and Florida was just like, no fucks given. We're back to business. You guys take your mask off and go have fun. Like,
yeah, you guys never really shut down.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it did, but like,
right back to work.
But we went right back to work. Like we had an event. We kicked it off. Like we had an event in December of 2020, and it was like during the summer, and it kept getting pushed back. And then December came along, And it was finally like, they were like, we're doing it. It was Jenny was booked for it. And I was like, all right, I guess, we're going to Orlando. We're going to be in this like hotel. It's like a little mini takeover. And we did the gig, and it was weird. Like we got there and nobody was wearing masks, and like we had been pretty much in our house for 8 months.
Yeah,
But it was also like that moment where we decided, all right, we're gonna have to move forward and just take advantage of what's going on in the world. And in Florida, that was back to the clubs and back to business. And so once that happened, like we couldn't maintain the consistent schedule on Twitch that we wanted. We felt bad because we had a lot of fun on Twitch and like being there every week, and like it meant to us as much as it meant to like a lot of people that were there every week that were stuck at home. I mean, even when we finally went to the Groove Cruise party to kick off like March of 2021, like we had people at that party March of 2021 that were still going like, this is the first time we left our house was to come to this party. So they had been in our house for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So it was like, we definitely know what it meant to like, kind of like, we feel like we abandoned it, but it was just like, we didn't have a choice. And honestly, me and Jenny had a conversation about it yesterday about like, I'm like, hey, we should do a Twitch show. We talked about maybe doing a Twitch show tonight, after all this, but the schedule's so erratic. And like, I mean, yesterday, everything's just been so crazy that without having that consistency. So like Lizzie and Steve and everybody, they were able to maintain that. And that's why you saw, I mean, they put in, and the Twitch is a lot of work. They put in the work. It's a lot of work running. I mean, I had 3 laptops set up here with the big screen TV going, and like, I mean, and we didn't even have a mic. We just kept it to the music, and it was all production in this house. Like the lights, the clock was all, I mean, we had LED work done on the clock for the show.
We have more sound and lights in our house than some nightclubs do in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, we would have people here. There's 2,000 watts of sound here. So like you guys would have the EQ'd version out on Twitch, and we're partying. We'd have a living room full of people, and we'd have the TV with the Twitch chat so that the people at the party could see the Twitch chat on the TV and interact with you guys on Twitch. Like even in the house, it was a production. Like there's stuff we were doing here that like nightclubs weren't doing. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's intense. It's worth it, but it's intense because it's like,
It is. Hopefully we'll be able to integrate it back in the schedule once things like get a little consistent, but obviously we just haven't had that consistency. And then during the week, we just haven't found it yet. We'll find it. We'll find it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, let's talk about so on March 5th, you guys are playing the Rock Bar. Can you guys talk about that? It's going to be a pool vibe. So we're now back getting into those pool vibes in the spring weather.
This thing was supposed to happen January 29th. We were supposed to come literally 6 days off a Groove Cruise, like right to this party. And there's a big lot of like South Florida. Groove Cruise originated in South Florida. So ton of greasy fam coming out to this thing. So the weather hit right after Groove Cruise. We had that weird cold front.
Yeah.
And it dropped to like almost freezing here. And so they pushed it, and it worked out because now it's on 305 day, which is March 5th, which is 305 is the area code for Miami. It's one of my best friend's birthdays. And then the DJ roster, Ed Whitty, who's on the lineup, who used to be my DJ partner, and we're bringing him back. And so my friend's birthday and having him, we used to go watch him at Rock Bar's old venue, and now it's Rock Bar. And so like it's like a full circle kind of moment. So March 5th, Rock Bar, day club, pool. Starts at 12, goes to 10. Jenny's gonna do a nice sunshine house set, opening set.
We'll get those.
We got Christopher Hammett, who you guys know from, or the Groove Cruise fam know from the Deep House Brunch series. He's gonna be on the Congress.
He's gonna come and hang out with us.
Yeah, ended up being in town, so we threw him on the lineup. And then we got our boys, the Umbrella Boys, who are they're their own vibe. So we're looking forward to having like a sunshine, kicking off spring break on Fort Lauderdale Beach.
That's awesome. And then you guys are playing Miami Music Week, right?
Yeah, Miami Music Week. We have right now, we've got the Groove Cruise Miami Artist Showcase, or the Groove Cruise Artist Showcase, I should say. That's going to be at Shots Miami. Okay. And that's got a full lineup with Gene Farris, Scotty Boy.
That's intense.
Deep Fake, us, Yokai, Drums of the Sun.
So basically Groove Cruise 2.0,
but okay.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I know I'm probably forgetting the name or two.
The special guest. Is
Yeah,
gonna
there's
be
a special guest
amazing.
headliner that hasn't been announced yet.
I'm very excited about that. He's one of my favorites.
So yeah, that's gonna be a big one. Shots Miami, and there's actually a GC Fam. There's a discount code for that. The GC Fam discount code. I think if you use the code, you get tickets for like $10 or $15.
For Miami Music Week, that's insanely low.
Yeah, and this place is right in the middle of Wynwood too.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I went to Miami Music Week in 2019. So yeah,
Talk about intense,
Wynwood
right?
was yeah.
It's a lot.
We have to prepare every year for this.
It's
just
like Groove
to
Cruise
come.
without having to go to your cabin. You gotta like drive home and
Yeah,
take care
exactly.
of
Parties every day, showcases. Plus, we do the Winter Music Conference, so we go and try and do.
I
the
was there in
as
2019.
well.
Yeah, we've had
So-
tickets for that thing since 2020.
It's amazing.
They canceled it 2020, then 2021 they
Pushed it.
they pushed it, but they offered guest passes. So like if you bought 2 tickets, you got 2 guests. But now here we are this year, and I haven't heard anything. So I'm guessing by the time WMC the conference comes back next year, it's gonna be big, and we're looking forward to that. Yeah. And then the last thing, we haven't announced it yet, but March
Exclusive?
25th, it's gonna be right. What?
Is this an exclusive on the podcast?
Yeah, actually it
Yes.
is, because the artwork, we're just waiting on the artwork. I mean, the contracts are all in, so it's not like it's so March 25th, we're playing after hours at Vixen's.
Oh
Which
wow.
they have their stage on the boat. They're our local fan. You guys saw what that was like. So we are playing. It's March 25th, Friday going into Saturday, but we don't take the decks until 4 in the morning. And if I'm not mistaken, Scotty Boy's kind of headlining the night, and then we take over and do after hours, and that goes to like 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to announcing that one and sharing that one. So
That's
you guys
gonna be
heard that one
bananas.
first, yeah.
I wish. I mean, I tried to make Miami happen after the Groove Cruise, but I live too far away. So
It's a lot.
I'm
It's
kind of bummed because like everything's being announced, and I'm like, I want to go to all the things.
I mean, the good thing is though,
Yeah.
is, I mean, you could come down. I mean, the bad part is you'll miss a bunch of people being in town all at once. But the good thing is with Miami and Fort Lauderdale is like we do
always
these events all the
something
time. You know, we always
Yeah.
have these DJs. I had last year in June for Jenny's birthday, we brought Ghetto Blaster down. I mean, they're killing it right now on top of the world, doing stuff with Dirty Bird and Basement League.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we bring acts like that to Fort Lauderdale, and Shiba San's been here. So, I mean, you can always come down to Fort Lauderdale, and odds are you're going to see some type of headliner. Like we just went literally just to hang out at Dare last week and saw Green Velvet. Just,
Chilling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the good thing about South Florida is you kind of always have something going on. So you don't have to feel bad about, all you're missing is, I mean, you're just missing a lot of packed clubs and lots of expensive tickets, but fortunately you can come experience it all year round down here.
Yeah. I mean, this coming weekend here in Phoenix, we have that Body Language Festival. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
like Carl Cox and Gene and Boris and everybody. So we finally have something cool here.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that this coming weekend. Yeah. So I don't want to keep up too much of everybody's time, but I did want to shout you guys out because, like I said, like I saw you guys when we got on the ship at the sail party. I gave you both a hug, and then I saw you at the casino, but you guys were killing it. And then I haven't been able to talk to you really since. So
It's kind of how Groove Cruise goes, right? Like,
Thank you so
yeah.
much for having us on. This is awesome.
yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, we were.
Always a pleasure to rock it with the GC fans, especially it's been a while. We've known each other for a while though.
I know. And
We've done a
then
few trips
know.
together. I think
Yeah.
us a little more just because Jenny hasn't done the West Coast yet.
are you gonna be doing Cabo?
Well, see, I've never, all the years that I've been on Groove Cruise, I've never done the West Coast. So we're
Yeah, we're working out the
kicking around
details.
idea. Yeah, we're kicking around the idea. I'm always a Miami girl. I love the Miami Groove Cruise. I'm assuming that it's just as epic on the West Coast, but I have such a love for the Miami vibe. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, and if
I'm
we
scared.
if we ends up working out, not only this will be her first West Coast Groove Cruise, but her first West Coast Groove Cruise is going to be 5 days in Cabo.
Oh,
so like,
no.
she's going in like,
Yeah.
yeah,
don't know
like
if I can
do
it's
Cabo.
almost
I
like
want
being a
to.
virgin again, but it's like
That's
here
what I
5 days.
feel like. That's literally what I feel like. I'm like, I have this I'm a virgin for the West Coast.
I was on the first Cabo 5 days. I remember being just looking at the schedule, and I remember being on the third day, and I remember flipping the schedule, and I was like, there's 2 more days. Like, oh my God. And that's as someone who's been on at that point, I had already been on like at least 10 of them. And I was still like, oh my God, 5 days. That's a lot. It's a lot. But it was so much fun.
Well, and it's overnight in Cabo. So
This time it's overnight. We weren't overtime. We weren't overnight last time.
oh, so this
And
is new.
the resort was beautiful. The Me Cabo was amazing. Probably the coolest destination party that I've ever been to. Like, I mean, they had the guy, that jet ski guy that does they had him in the pool at the hotel in Cabo.
That's intense.
Yeah, it was with like the Dub Fire was the headliner. Like, it was yeah. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do for this and to stay overnight. And does that mean it's gonna be an overnight party? Like, I'm just so curious.
Yeah, there's just so much.
Because if it's an overnight party, like the possibilities are like endless. Like what we can do.
I mean, well, because like when people, people were asking me when I came back. So does the music ever stop on the cruise? And I was like, no, not really. No.
Nope. That's the beauty of it. And even when you don't think you want it, it takes you back to life. Even when you think you're dragging ass trying to eat a piece of bacon, and the next thing you know, you're dancing again.
Yeah, even this year, everybody was on the to the island party, and I was not getting off the boat this year, so he was sleeping, and my girlfriend and I were just like walking around trying to find anyone playing music, and I felt like everyone was at the island. So we found this little corner in the back deck that was playing music on a speaker. And we had a little fun vibe there and just like created our own party. That's the beauty of everything. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, because most artists don't get off for.
Yeah, that's our sleep time.
A lot of
us
sleep
is
time
when we get time to chill, because the boat is quiet. There's not a lot of people getting things running up and down the hallways. It's a perfect opportunity to nap.
Yeah, the cat nap that is.
Cat nap we also desperately need.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So everybody check out DiscoPretty.com for all the tickets that we talked about.
We have some merch up there. We got some new stuff coming out soon.
Yeah, they got merch, y'all.
Yeah, so DiscoPretty.com has some merch. We don't have any more on hand.
Cool.
So we're working on getting, because those women's hoodie things kind of went off. So we're trying to integrate more like fashion forward stuff, more like functional stuff that you guys can use instead of just rocking tank tops and stuff like that on the boat and booty shorts,
Yeah, we definitely
some more fashion forward stuff.
Requests for other kinds of items like dad hats. Someone asked if we had a Groove Cruise dad hat or a Disco Pretty dad hat. So I want to do some other stuff for the other people that are asking for things too, not just the same. A t-shirt that's 5 times too large for me and a hat that I can't wear everywhere. So
right. I mean, I did like the merch on the cruise this year. It was very
yeah, they did a great job for sure. We're looking at that point where we're trying to get like good distributors like that where we can trust the quality.
It makes a difference. If people want to wear it, they'll wear it.
Yeah, I mean, we did the stuff that we have, like we've tried to keep it as like reasonably priced, but to make sure that like, the stuff doesn't fall off after washing it and it doesn't fade.
Yeah, we do quality stuff.
So we're still working on some of that. But in the meantime, I mean, DiscoPretty.com has some stuff if you guys want like tank tops and t-shirts and like basic stuff, but we're definitely working on getting some of that more functional stuff that you guys have been asking us for and finding a distributor. Awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. I know there was people watching live, and then this will be up on the podcast feed shortly and for replay right after in video. So thanks everybody, and definitely thanks to you, Jenny and Keith, for
thank you, BB.
Thank you.
We're glad to be a trending topic.
Yeah, you are. Well, thanks everybody, and stay safe and hug your loved ones, y'all.
Love you guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Brooke.
Love.